Hi everyone, Dr. Shook here. I hope you're all doing well today. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to cover 7 of the 7 keys to weight loss that most doctors don't know about. Now, this is the final video in our 7-part series where I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of what we've talked about and just try to give you a little bit more direction here, okay? So keep in mind that most of the time when people are looking at weight loss and metabolism, they think that calories in, so if you eat less than you burn, so calories in, calories you eat, if those are lower than the calories that you burn, your metabolism, then that's going to equal a deficit. You're going to have burned more calories than you took in, and that will result in weight loss. That is an oversimplification of how this system works. And when people just look at counting calories and trying to exercise, there's a great variance between people on how they'll do. Some people will lose weight, others won't, and it can be very frustrating. And why is that? And what it comes down to is that this calories out portion, this biochemical side of food and of weight loss, this biochemical calories out or metabolism is different between every person. And what's not looked at is most of the biochemical drivers of poor metabolism or poor energy production. And this is something that you got to keep in mind. The key here is this: you must produce energy, which your body produces. Every cell in your body produces an energy molecule called ATP. Okay, ATP must be produced optimally. It is produced in every cell, and part of the cell called the mitochondria generates ATP. If you cannot produce ATP optimally, you will not burn calories optimally. If you can't burn calories optimally, you're not going to lose weight. And this is a big problem for people. This is a big problem because, you know, when you're working with someone or you're following a weight loss plan or you're trying to lose weight and these things, this energy production at a biochemical level is not being considered, you could be working very hard to get, very little result. That is probably not going to be something you can maintain long term, because let's face it, most of the exercise routines, most of the dietary changes that people tend to make to lose weight, they often fail in the long run. And what I try to do is encourage people to look. The right way to do this is to get healthy, improve your biochemistry, look at everything that can disrupt energy production and metabolism, optimize that as much as you can, then start changing and then start exercising more vigorously. People are all in different places. So I might work with someone that we optimize these things and they can go straight into, a high intensity workout with, a dietary program that they enjoy and that they can maintain longer term. And I might be able to do that. Other times I work with people that cannot lose, they cannot lose any weight. And if they were to start exercising vigorously, they would create a stress response and actually go in reverse. It would be detrimental to their weight loss. It would be detrimental to their overall health and how they feel. So a lot of times we just focus on improving these metabolic issues here, and then we incorporate dietary changes, not necessarily calorie restriction at all. Most of the time, there's 0 calorie counting or calorie restriction. I am going to do a bonus video for you guys tomorrow where I'm going to go through, if we want to incorporate it, and it's not a bad idea, but you don't have to do it by any means. I'm going to show you how to do the calories in, calories out equation that's for best for you. And it's really going to break down how to calculate your body fat and how many calories you need to lose, and I'm going to show you how to be able to plot that out and also reverse engineer like how many calories you need to lose per day, what kind of deficit you need to create, and give you some ideas of how to look at it. So this can be disrupted several ways. The main thing you need to understand is that every cell in the body has to have thyroid hormone to stimulate cellular physiology. You have to have oxygen and glucose in the cell to allow the cell to produce energy. So oxygen and glucose combined. Thyroid hormone is kind of like the spark. Like in a combustion engine, it's the spark that ignites the fuel so that you release the energy molecule ATP. You can then burn calories and lose weight. That's how it has to occur. So this process intracellularly can be disrupted several ways. We've discussed all of these in our previous videos. Inflammation can break and cause dysfunction in energy production. oxygen delivery. So if you have poor oxygen delivery, we're primarily looking at the red blood cells. And anemia is the disease state. That's going to be the more severe state of impaired oxygen delivery throughout the body. But there's a spectrum. So there's an ideal for most of these factors here. There's an ideal biochemical level or marker or range, I should say. And then you start, as you deviate from that, you get closer to what we would call a disease state or a diagnosable disease state, where you might call a suboptimal or poor oxygen delivery anemia, right? And this is important because if you can't deliver oxygen, then you don't have oxygen to burn the fuel or for the thyroid hormone to activate either, so you can't produce energy and then you don't burn calories. Number 3 is dysglycemia, blood sugar high or low. This is such a major factor here. This is one of the most common reasons that I see people having difficulty with their health, quite frankly, is dysglycemia, high and low blood sugar. It wreaks havoc because when blood sugar swings and blood sugar goes up and down, you have insulin spikes, and that changes your hormonal physiology, your neurochemistry, so many things so significantly that people feel terrible with high and low blood sugar, and it wreaks havoc on your organs, your brain, and it's a major problem. But there are strategies. We can look at what's happening, we can look at the biochemistry, and we can figure out, okay, what's happening here? How can we optimize this blood sugar? And there's a lot that you can do from a dietary perspective, from a nutritional supplementation perspective, and those can all be the dietary changes that we'll use, and the supplemental temporary nutritional supplementation strategies are all designed to be as short-term as possible. So can we get the person healthy and then take them off of supplementation, take them off of specialized diets, and just really help them to function normally without having to be on an incredibly restricted diet or on supplements for the rest of their life. And a lot of times you can do that. Sometimes people have to stay on some supplements longer term because when they try to remove them, they don't feel well. So if they function better with them and they feel better, and we've done everything that we can, then I'm okay with that. But we always try to take people off of supplementation and give them as much of an expanded diet as possible, without losing their benefits. So the next thing is cortisol, stress, and sex hormones. Now these all kind of go together. When you're under stress, your body will produce higher levels of cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When cortisol is produced at a higher rate, it will cause dysfunction in your sex hormones, your testosterone and your estrogen, which are required for metabolism and energy production. And this can create major issues for, obviously, how you feel, how you function, your ability to produce energy, to lose weight. So these things, when I look at this, I try to look at all these markers, and then I prioritize it. And if I was going to prioritize it, well, sometimes these things kind of jump around. If you don't have an inflammation problem, I do tend to look at them on the labs in this order, but there can be higher priorities. It can jump around a bit depending on how bad or how bad one of these markers are relative to another, right? But we go through this and we look at these factors and we try to understand, okay, if the person's under stress, is it an inflammatory stress that's causing excessive cortisol production? If so, what's driving the inflammation? Is it an emotional stress? Is it a physical pain that they're in, or stress that they're under, that's causing them to be in a constant state of fight or flight, which will drive up cortisol, which will steal away some of the hormones needed to make sex hormones and throw off their hormones and then their brain chemistry? Do they have like low blood sugar that's causing spikes in cortisol because the brain's trying to keep adequate blood sugar in circulation and continue running the systems of the body? Is it all of these things, they tie together? And I often think of this as if you look at a spider web and you touch the corner of a spider web and you pull it, the entire web moves with it, right? These things are all intertwined, and they can all impact the other one way or the other. So you have to look at all of these factors at one time, and then you try to make as few of changes as possible so that you get the greatest benefit, right? So make it as simple as possible so that the person gets the most benefit while still working on root driving factors, right? So it requires looking at the big picture, casting a very wide net, and looking at as many of these biomarkers as we can so that we can have the best idea of what's happening. And a lot of times when we see, if there's inflammation and then we find out that someone's autoimmune, then that expands our testing much further much further, because then we're going to look even more in depth at the factors that might be driving an immune response. And so we can go pretty deep, but that's so that we get the very best starting point possible, and so that we can put together a plan that is tailored and unique to you. Now, the fifth thing is thyroid hormone physiology. We've got to look at thyroid hormone physiology, very, very in depth, because it is one of the primary things, right? So blood sugar, oxygen delivery, and then thyroid hormone is here. And thyroid hormone is, it's required for the to catalyze the biochemical reaction to produce energy. If you don't have adequate thyroid hormone stimulation, and remember, when we're looking at hormones, remember, what are we looking at? We are always looking at four things. We're always looking at production, transportation, sensitivity, and detoxification of hormones. In medicine today, production is the only thing that's really considered. That's it. It's production. Do you have the quantity? If you do, it's not your thyroid. But the reality is transportation and sensitivity are huge factors when it comes to the thyroid that are almost always missed. There are probably 40 or 50 different ways this thyroid hormone physiology, production, transportation, sensitivity, detoxification can break down, especially when you start looking at how a lot of the endocrine disrupting chemicals in our environment are, have an impact on thyroid hormone physiology. So you've got to consider, be thinking about a lot of these things, and then try to put together a plan that just makes sense, that addresses as many of these things at one time as possible, so that, that's simple to implement, or that's as easy as possible to implement. Now, what I'm going to do with you guys, these are the primary things I want you to understand as it comes to metabolism, because people are starting fad diets. They're starting diets this time of year, and I've seen too many people start diets to only fail, and then it crushes, their self-esteem is not as good. They lose confidence in themselves. People around them think that they just don't have willpower, and you get, there's this judgment, which is really sad, because people don't realize that things like this are occurring that are impairing your ability to burn calories biochemically that's different than someone else. And then a lot of these diets that people start are fad diets that they're not really healthy diets anyway. That's not something you can maintain long term. So it's not a long-term solution. It's really a short-term solution, but people are grasping at straws, right? Because it's something new, something they haven't tried, so they go for it. The next thing that you have to consider is don't go buy a bunch of supplements, and think twice when you're if a methamphetamine or speed-like medication is being recommended. Just make sure that that's the right thing for you, because really, how does a methamphetamine or taking speed for weight loss really help the reason that you can't lose weight? Like, is it addressing why you can't lose weight or why you have a metabolism issue? No. So it's a short-term fix. And I promise you, anything that drives your metabolism, any type of speed or methamphetamine-like medication, is going to have a consequence on the body. There's no free lunch. You cannot force biochemistry on the body and not expect it to rebound, or for another system or something else to suffer. That's not how the body works. Get healthy, lose weight as a side effect. And then be careful when you're considering the third mistake I really see people make, which is they start very high intensity workout routines that actually stimulate a stress response and create a lot of problems for them, because they're not metabolically healthy enough to produce energy at a level that's needed to carry out these high intensity workouts. Number one, that ends up causing them to break down tissues and not be able to repair and recover, because their body can't get into an anabolic state. They create a lot of cortisol because they're under stress. Their body they can't produce energy at a high enough level. They produce more lactic acid. They have poor energy system. Their energy systems to produce energy are inefficient. They end up creating more stress. Listen, it's not smart to jump right into very rigorous, demanding types of workouts. It's just not. It's not. It is not. If you don't have sound physiology, it's not a good thing. Most people, I would recommend that they work for 1 to 3 months on optimizing this physiology before they get into, a very rigorous, high-intensity type of workout regime, because you have to improve cellular physiology. You have to improve the part of the cell that produces energy. It's called the mitochondria. They become damaged, and they take time to recover. Mitochondria, which produce your energy molecule, they take 6 months to 2 years to recover once they've been damaged or Uncoupled is the term that's used. So get healthy, improve the metabolic systems, go ahead and start working on diet, and most of the time people start losing weight immediately. I've seen people very commonly, that I work with, my population, I've seen people lose in 1 month 10 to 20 pounds in 1 month. And I've seen them do that because a lot of people are retaining a lot of fluid due to inflammation. So whenever we start decreasing their inflammatory load, optimizing their metabolism, then they start losing this water that they're retaining, for one thing. And then their metabolism starts to improve. And then really, if you're losing more than 2 pounds per week, you're probably losing water weight, guys. It's not going to happen. So 8 pounds per month, then you're probably losing water weight. So just be aware. Be aware when you go on like low carb diets and some of these other things, you're going to lose some weight fast because you're losing water. When you eat carbohydrates, you have stored sugar in your muscles. Okay, it's called glycogen. Glycogen pulls water with it. So you have more water, you're retaining it in your muscle, in your liver. So when you start going on like low carb diets and you start depleting that stored water in the muscle and the liver, and you dump it back into the body, that's being released as the blood sugar is being burned up that's stored away in the muscle and liver, you lose water. So you lose weight more quickly, but then you hit a plateau. Don't chase these fad diets. Figure out what's going on with your physiology and lose weight and be healthy and live a more vibrant, healthy life long term, right? Don't chase these fads. Focus on getting healthy first. The weight loss will come. I promise it will. Just listen, if you have any questions, you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you any way that we possibly can. What I'm going to try to do tomorrow is a bonus video where we're going to consider calories. I'm actually going to walk you through this calories in, calories out equation. How would I calculate it for myself so that you can see how you can calculate it for yourself and figure out, how many calories do you approximately need per day? What's your percentage? How many calories of fat do you have? If you're trying to lose X amount of weight, what kind of deficit do you need to create on a daily basis? And then I'll help you kind of reverse engineer the process a bit, okay? So that you can look at this energy, at this equation a bit more scientifically if you haven't done that before. But so I'll help you with that component. But if you need help with any of this, guys, the good news is that we can do laboratory testing that's repeatable to help us understand these factors so that we can better we can have a better idea of what is impairing or affecting your ability to produce energy, right? And if you can't produce energy, you can't burn calories, you can't lose weight. So I take a 3-step approach, a science-based 3-step approach that first we focus on detecting the problems. So we take a very in-depth health history, we do extensive laboratory testing so that we can get the very best starting point and understand the factors that are likely impairing and inhibiting your energy production, okay? Then we put together a plan based on those results to remove the things that are impairing and slowing energy production. Then once we've gone through a phase of removing, then we focus on repairing. So detect, remove, repair, and optimize physiology. Remember, the mitochondria that produces energy takes 6 months to 2 years. So long term, if we can address these things within a few months, then your body will continue to optimize energy production for 6 months to 2 years. It's pretty amazing if you'll stay with it, okay? The bad news is that obviously this stuff is very complex, so it becomes very hard to just say, hey, start a different diet, do these things, take these supplements. I will try to help anyone and everyone, using those types of approaches if that's the only option that they have. But if you can, get some biomarkers assessed so that you can have the very best starting point and understand how to get healthy and lose weight as a side effect. But I do appreciate you guys. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you need help, I work with people all around the world, across the United States. You can go to new.thyroidconsult.com and learn more about it, working with me via distance consulting. So you can just go there and look at our application for care page. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to post them here. Reach out to my team. We do everything that we can to help you. But I do appreciate you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed this series. Thanks.